Hello everyone. Good to see you again. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to Animorphs number 1, The Invasion. Now, Chapter 1. My name is Jake. That's my first name, obviously. I can't tell you my last name, though. It'd be too dangerous. The controllers are everywhere. Everywhere. And if they knew my full name, they could find me and my friends and then... well, let's just say I don't want them to find me. What they do to people that resist is too horrible to think about. I won't even tell you where I live. You'll just have to trust me that it's a real place, a real town. It may even be your town. I'm writing this all down so that more people will learn the truth. Maybe then, somehow, the human race can survive until the Andalites return and rescue us as they promised they would. Maybe. My life used to be pretty normal. Normal, that is, until one Friday night at the mall. I was there with Marco, my best friend. We were playing video games and hanging out at this cool store that sells comic books and stuff, the usual. We'd run out of quarters for the game right when he was ahead by a lot of points. Mostly we're equally good at games. I have Sega at home so I get a lot of practice time in, but he has this amazing ability to analyze games and figure out all the little tricks, so sometimes he beats me. For the record, this story takes place in the 90s, I believe, so yeah. Probably means like a Sega Genesis or something. Anyway. Maybe I just wasn't concentrating very well. I had kind of a bad day at school. I tried out for the basketball team and I didn't make the cut. It was like no big deal, really, except that Tom, my big brother, he was a total legend on the junior high basketball team, and now he's the main scorer for the high school team, so everyone expected I'd make this team easily. Only I didn't. First published in 1996, the arcades weren't dead yet. Exactly. Do have some nice memories of arcades. Not many, but some. Anyway, like I said, no big thing, but it was on my mind all the same, and lately Tom and I haven't been hanging out as much, not like we used to, so I figured, you know, if I got his old position on the team... Well, anyway, we were out of money and getting ready to head home when I ran into Tobias. Tobias was... I guess he still is kind of a strange guy. He was new at school and he wasn't the toughest kid around, so he got picked on a lot. I actually met Tobias when he had his head in the toilet. There were two big guys holding him down and laughing while they flushed, seeing Tobias' straggly blonde hair swirling around the bowl. I told him to stop off, and ever since then Tobias figured I was his friend. "What's up?" Tobias said. I shrugged. "Not much. We're heading home." At a quarters, Marco commented. Certain people keep forgetting that the celestial shows up right after you cross the nether fjord. So certain people keep losing the game, and losing our quarter. He kept jerking his thumb at me just in case Tobias can figure out who he meant by certain people. So, like, maybe I'll walk home with you guys. I said sure, why not? We were heading for the exit when I spotted Rachel and Cassie. Rachel's kind of pretty, I guess. Okay, she's very pretty, although since she's my cousin I don't really think of her that way. She has blonde hair and blue eyes and a kind of clean, wholesome look. She's one of those people who always know the right clothes to wear and how to look like they were just walked out of one of those fashion magazines girls like. She's also very graceful because she takes gymnastics, even though she's too tall to be really good at it. Cassie's sort of the opposite. For one thing, she usually wears jeans and a plaid shirt and something else really casual. She's black and wears her hair very short most of the time. She had longer for a while, but then she went back to short, which I like. Cassie's quieter and Rachel, more peaceful, like she always understands everything on some different, more mystical level. I guess you could say I kind of like Cassie. Sometimes we sit there in a bus, even though I never know what to say to her. "You guys going home?" I asked Rachel. "You shouldn't go for your construction site by yourselves. Being girls and all." That was a mistake. I should never suggested to Rachel she was weak or helpless. She may look like a little Miss Teen Mall or whatever, but I think she's actually Storm from the X-Men. "Are you gonna come protect us, you big strong man?" she said. "You think we're helpless just because..." "I'd appreciate if you did walk with us," Cassie interrupted. "I know you're not afraid of anything, Rachel, but I guess I am." Rachel couldn't say much to that. That's the way Cassie is. She always has the right words to stop an argument without making people feel bad. So there we were, the 5 of us. Marco, Tobias, Rachel, Cassie, and me. Just 5 normal mall rats heading home. Sometimes I think about that one last moment when we were all still just normal kids. It was like a million years ago, like it was some totally different group of kids. You know what I was afraid of right then? I was afraid of admitting to Tom that I didn't make the team. That was as scary as life got back then, and 5 minutes later, life got a lot scarier. To get home from the mall, we'd either go a long way around, which is the safe way, or we can cut through this abandoned construction site and hope there aren't any axe murderers hanging around. My mom and dad had sworn to grab me till I was 20 if they found out I cut through the construction site. So, anyway, we crossed the road and headed to an abandoned construction site. It's a big area surrounded on two sides by trees, with a highway separating it from the mall area. There's a broad open field between the construction site and the nearest houses. It's a very isolated place. Originally supposed to be a new shopping center, now it's all just half-finished buildings like a ghost town. There are huge piles of rusted steel beams, pyramids of giant concrete pipes, little mountains of dirt, pits that filled up with black muddy water, and a creaking rustic construction crane that I once climbed while Marco stayed below and told me I was being stupid. It was a totally deserted place full of shadows and sounds and made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. When Marco and I went there during the day, we always found these beer cans and liquor bottles. Sometimes found ashes of little campfires in the hidden nooks and crannies of the buildings. So we knew people came here at night. And all that was on my mind as we crept through the site. It was Tobias who saw it first. He'd been walking along, gazing at the sky. I guess he's looking at the stars or something. He's just sometimes off in his own little world. And suddenly stopped. He was pointing, almost straight up. "Look," he said. "What? I didn't want to be distracted in case I heard the sound of a chainsaw killer creeping up behind us." "Just look," Tobias said. His voice was strange, amazed sounding, but serious at the same time. So I looked up and there it was. A brilliant blue-white light that soared across the sky, going fast at first, too fast to be an airplane, but then slower and slower. "What is it?" He shook his head. "I don't know." I looked at Tobias and he looked back at me. We both know what we thought it was, but we didn't want to say it. Marco or Rachel laughed, we figured, but Cassie just blurted right out. "It's a flying saucer!" And now we're on chapter 2. Like I said, the book's pretty short. "A flying saucer," Marco said. He did laugh until he looked up at least. I could feel my heart pounding my chest. I felt weird and excited and afraid all at once. "It's coming this way," Rachel said. It's hard to be sure. I could barely whisper, my mouth was so dry. "No, it's coming this way," Rachel said. She had a very definite way of talking, like she's totally sure of everything she says. But she was right. Whatever it was getting closer, and it was slowing down. Now I could see clearly what it looked like. "It's not exactly a flying saucer," I said. First of all, it wasn't very big, about as long as a school bus. The front end was a pod shaped almost like an egg. Extending from the back of the pod was a long, narrow shaft. There were two crooked little stubby-like wings. On the end of each was a long tube that glowed bright blue on the back end. It looked almost cute. Kind of harmless, except it had that sort of a tail. A mean-looking tail that curved up and forward, ending in a point that looked as sharp as a needle. "That tail thing," I said, "looks like a weapon." "Definitely," Marco agreed. The little ship was getting nearer, getting slower all the time. "It's stopping," Rachel said. She had a strange, not quite real tone in her voice that I had. Like we couldn't believe we were seeing, like maybe we didn't want to believe. "I think it sees us," Marco said. "Should we run, like get a camera? Do you know how much money we get for a video of a real UFO? If we run, they might, I don't know, zap us with phasers on full power," I said. "I meant it as a joke. Kind of." "Phasers are only on Star Trek," Marco said, rolling his eyes the way he does when you think of being a dweeb, like he's some kind of expert in alien spaceships. "Light before cell phones. Yeah." The ship stopped and hovered almost directly over our heads, maybe 100 feet in the air. I could feel the hair on my head standing on end. When I glanced at Rachel, it was almost funny. She had this long blonde hair sticking straight out in every direction. Only Cassie looked normal. "What do you think it is?" Marco asked. He sounded a little shakier, not so laid back now I was so close. To be honest, I was getting scared too. A little scared, as in so terrified I couldn't move, but at the same time it was so cool beyond any coolness ever. I mean, it was a spaceship right there over my head. Tobias is actually grinning, but that's Tobias for you. He's never scared of the weird stuff. It's the normal things he can't stand. "I think it's gonna land," he said, and a huge smile on his face. His eyes were bright and excited, his blonde hair standing up in clumps. It began to descend. "It's coming right at us," I cried. I defied an urge to run yammering across the field all the way home, where I could crawl in my bed and pull the covers over my head. But I knew this was an important, amazing thing. I knew I just had to stay and see it all. I guess the others felt the same way because they all just stood there. The ship hummed and glowed and slowly settled in an open space between the piles of junk and tumbled walls. I noticed there were black burn marks on the top of the pod section. Some of the skin of the pod had been melted. It touched the ground and instantly the blue lights went off. Her hair fell back down her neck. "It isn't very big, is it?" Rachel whispered. "It's about," I tried to think, "about 3 or 4 times as big as our minivan." "We should tell someone," Marco said. "I mean, this is kind of major, you know? Spaceships don't just land at a construction site every day. We should call the cops or the army or the president or something. We'd be totally famous. We get on Letterman for sure." Yeah, you're right, I agreed, and we should call someone. But none of us moved. None of us are going to walk away from a spaceship. Now, I wonder if we should try and talk to it, she suggested. She was staying with her hands on her hips, looking at a spaceship like a puzzle she had to figure out. I mean, we could communicate, if that's... we should communicate if that's even possible. Tobias nodded. He stepped forward and held out his hands. I guess showing whatever's in the ship he wasn't carrying a weapon. It's safe, he said in a loud, clear voice. We won't hurt you. Do you think they speak English, I wondered? Well, everyone speaks English on Star Trek, Cassie said with a nervous laugh. Tobias shrugged in. Please, come out. We won't hurt you. I know. I froze. Okay, I definitely heard someone say I know, only there hadn't been any sound. I mean, I heard it, but I didn't really hear it. Maybe this was all a dream. I looked kind of sideways at Cassie, and she looked back at me. Our eyes met. She heard it too. I looked at Rachel. She was turning her head back and forth like she was looking for where the sound that wasn't a sound could have come from. I started to get a sick, twisting feeling in my stomach. Did everyone hear that? Tobias whispered. We all nodded once, very slowly. Can you come out? Tobias asked in his loud, talking to aliens voice. Yes. Do not be frightened. We won't be frightened, Tobias said. Speak for yourself, I muttered. The others giggled nervously. A thin arc of light appeared at a doorway, slowly opening slowly on the smooth side of the pod part of the ship. I stood there totally hypnotized. I just stared, waiting. And then he appeared. My first reaction was someone had cloned a person and a deer together. The creature had a head and shoulders and arms that are more or less where they should be, but the skin was a pale shade of blue. Below that, he had fur, a mix of blue and tan, covering a four-legged body that really did look like it belonged on a deer, or maybe a small horse. He ducked his head out of the doorway, and I could see even the fair-looking normal parts weren't that normal. For a start, he had no mouth, just 3 vertical slits. And then there were his eyes. 2 where they should be, though they were glittery green color, was kind of shocking. But the real shock was the other eyes. He looked like horns, only on the end of each horn was an eye. The horns could move, twisting and pointing them front and back or up and down. I thought that was bad until I saw the tail. It was like a scorpion, thick and powerful looking. On the end was a wickedly curved, very sharp-looking horn or stinger. It reminded me of a spaceship. It looked kind of cute and harmless until you noticed the tail. The alien seemed kind of harmless at first glance too, and then you thought, whoa, this guy could do some damage if he wanted. Hello, Tobias said. His voice was gentle like he's talking to a baby. He was grinning, and I realized I was smiling too. And at the same moment, I realized there were tears in my eyes. I can't really describe how it felt, except that it seemed like the alien was someone I'd known forever. Like an old friend I hadn't seen in a long time. Hello, the alien said in a silent way you only heard in your head. Hi, we all said back. To our surprise, the alien staggered. He fell out of the ship to the ground. Tobias tried to grab him and hold him up, but he slipped from his grasp and fell back in the dirt. Look, Cassie cried. She pointed a burn on his right side. He's hurt. Yes, I am dying. Can we help you? We'll call an ambulance or something. We can bandage that wound, Cassie said. Jake, give me your shirt. We can tear it up and make bandages. Cassie's parents were veterinarians and she was totally into animals. Not that this was an animal. Not exactly, anyway. No. I will die. The wound is fatal. No, I cried. You can't die. You're the first alien to come to Earth. You can't die. I didn't know why I was so upset. I just knew deep down inside it hurt me to think of him dying. I am not the first. There are many, many others. Other aliens, Tobias demanded? Like you? He shook his big head slowly side to side. Not like me. Then he cried in pain, a sound that echoed horribly in my mind. For a moment I actually felt him dying. Not like me, he repeated. They are different. Different how? I would remember his answer forever. He said, they have come to destroy you. Chapter 3. It was strange the way we all just knew he was telling the truth. No one said, no way, or you're making it up. We all just knew he was dying and he was trying to warn us of something terrible. They are called Yeerks. They are different from us. Different from you as well. Are you telling us they're already here on Earth? Rachel demanded. Many are here. Hundreds, maybe more. Why has anyone noticed them? Marcus said reasonably. I think someone had mentioned it at school. You do not understand. The Yeerks are different. They have no body like yours or mine. They live in the bodies of other species. They are... I guess he couldn't think of a word to explain the Yeerks, so he closed his eyes and seemed to concentrate. Suddenly a bright picture appeared in my head. I saw a gray-green, slimy thing like a snail without shell, only bigger, the size of a rat maybe. It wasn't a pretty picture. I'm guessing that was a Yeerk. Either that or a very big wad of slimy chewing gum. They are almost powerless without hosts. Suddenly Revel felt that blast of pain straight from the alien. I also felt his sadness. He knew his time was almost up. The Yeerks are parasites. They must have a host to live in. In that form, they are known as controllers. They enter the brain and are absorbed into it, taking over the host's thoughts and feelings. They try to get the host to accept them voluntarily. It's easier that way. Otherwise, the host may be able to resist, at least a little. Are you saying they're taking over human beings, Rachel said? People? They're taking over our bodies? Look, this is serious stuff, I said. You shouldn't be telling us. We're just kids, you know? This is something the government should know about. We had hoped to stop them, the alien continued. Swarms of their bug fighters were waiting when our dome ship came out of Z-space. We knew of their mothership and was ready for the fighters, but they surprised us. They had hidden a powerful blade ship in a crater of your moon. We fought, but we lost. They have tracked me here. They will soon eliminate all traces of me and my ship. How can they do that? Cassie wondered. The alien seemed to smile in his eyes. Their beams will leave nothing behind but a few molecules of the ship and this body, he said. I sent a message to my homeworld. We Andalites fight the Yeerks wherever they go through the universe. My people will send help, but it may take a year, even more, and by then they'll have control over this planet. After that, there is no hope. You must tell people. You must warn people. Another spasm of pain ripped through him, and we all knew he was nearly gone. No one's going to believe us, Morph said hopelessly. He looked at me and shook his head. No way. He was right. If these Yeerks were to wipe out the Andalite ship, how on earth would he convince people? They'd think we are nuts or on drugs. I don't care if he thinks he's going to die. We have to try and help him, Rachel said. We have to get him to a hospital or maybe Cassie's parents. There is no time. No time, the Andalite said. Then his eyes brightened. Perhaps... What? Go to my ship. You will see a small blue box, very plain. Bring it to me, quickly. I have little time and the Yeerks will find me soon. We all looked at each other. Who's going to go inside the ship? Some all agreed it would be me. Actually, I didn't agree, but everyone else did. Go ahead, Tobias said. I want to stay with him. He knelt beside Anna and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. I looked at the doorway into the spacecraft and glanced at Cassie. Go ahead, she said, sending me a smile. You're not scared. She was wrong. I was plenty scared, but the way she smiled at me, I wasn't about to weasel out. I walked over to the door of the ship and looked inside. It was surprisingly simple, almost cozy. Everything was a creamy color with rounded edges and shapes that tended to be oval. One of the things that helped me spot the box so easily. It was sky blue and square, maybe 4 inches on each side. It seemed kind of heavy for being so small. I stepped up into the ship. There was no chair, just sort of an open spot where I guess he stood on his hooves while he worked a few controls. There wasn't a lot of buttons or anything. I wondered if he controlled it with his thoughts. I quickly reached for the box and started to head outside, but then something caught my eye. It was a small, 3-dimensional picture. 4 Andalites all standing together, like a strange gathering of deer with solemn faces. 2 looked very small. I realized it was a picture of the Andalites' family. It filled me with sadness thinking here he was, dying a million miles from his family, dying because he tried to protect the people of Earth. I felt a small flame of anger against the Yeerks or controllers or whatever they were for causing this. And I went back to my circle of friends. Here's the box, I told Andalite. Thank you. Was that your family? That picture? Yes. I'm real sorry, I said. What else could I say? There is something I may be able to do to help you fight the Yeerks. What? Rachel demanded. I know that you are young. I know you have no power which to resist the controllers. But I may be able to give you some small powers that may help. We all looked at each other, except Tobias, who never took his gaze off the alien. If you wish, I can give you powers that no other human being has ever had. Powers? What was that supposed to mean? It's a piece of Andalite technology Yeerks do not have. A technology enables us to pass unnoticed in many parts of the universe. The power to morph. We have never shared this power, but your need is great. Morph how? Rachel asked, her eyes narrow. To change your bodies, to become another species, another animal. Margot laughed derisively. Become animals? Margot wasn't exactly the most accepting person in the world. You only need to touch the creature to acquire its DNA pattern, and you will become that creature. It requires concentration and determination, but if you are strong, you can do it. There are limitations, problems, dangers even, but there is no time to explain it all. No time. You'll have to learn for yourselves. But first, do you wish to receive this power? He's kidding, right? Margot asked me. No, Tobias said softly. He's not kidding. This is nuts, Margot said. This whole thing is nuts. Yeerks and spaceships and taking over people's brains and analyzing the power of changing animals. Give me a break. Yeah, it's beyond weird, I agreed. We're off the map of weirdness at this point, Rachel said. Unless we're all just dreaming, I think we better deal with this. He's dying, Tobias reminded us. I'll do it, Cassie said. That surprised me. She usually wasn't so quick to decide, but I guess like Tobias, she felt the truth of what he was saying. I think we should all decide together. What's that? Rachel asked. She was looking toward the stars. Far, far ahead, 2 pinpoints of bright red light were shooting across the sky. Yerks. They only said the word in our minds and we could just feel his hatred. Yerks. The twin red lights slowed. They turned a circle and came back toward us. There is no more time. You must decide. We have to do this, Tobias said. How else can we fight these controllers? This is so insane, Marco said. Insane. I like more time, but we don't have that choice, Rachel said. I'm for it. What do you say, Jake? Cassie told me. It was odd, like suddenly I was the one who had to decide for everyone. I looked up at the Yerk ships. What'd that Andalite call them? Bug fighters? They were circling close like dogs sniffing for a scent. I looked down at the Andalite remembered the picture of his family. Would they even know what happened to him? I looked at each of the people around me, my usually funny, occasionally annoying best friend Marco, Rachel, my smart, pretty, confident cousin, Cassie, who knew everyone knew liked animals more than she liked most people. Finally, to Tobias. It was weird the feeling I had the moment staring at him, a chill or something. We have to, Tobias said to me. Slowly I nodded. Yeah, we have no choice. Then each of you, press your hand against one of the sides of the square. We did, 5 hands each pressed against one side, then 6 different Mars with too many fingers. Do not be afraid, Andalite said. Something like a shock, only pleasurable, seemed to run through me, a tingle that almost made me laugh. Go now, the Andalite said. Only remember this. Never remain in animal form for more than 2 of your Earth hours. Never. That is the greatest danger. If you stay longer than 2 hours, you'll be trapped, unable to return to human form. 2 hours, I repeated. Suddenly some new fear washed over the Andalite's mind. Linked as I was, I could feel as a dread that crawled up my spine. He was staring up at the sky with his main eyes. Something else was up there with the bug fires. Visitor free. He comes. What? I was shaking with this new terror. What's a visitor? Who's a visitor? Go now. Run. Visitor free is here. He is the most deadly of your enemies. Of all the Yerks, he alone has the power to morph, the same power you now have. Run. No, we'll stay with you, Rachel said friendly. Maybe we can help. Again, it was as if the alien was smiling at us with his eyes. No, you must save yourselves and this planet. The Yerks are here. We all looked up, craning our necks, and sure enough 2 red lights are sinking toward us, and they've been joined by a 3rd ship, far larger, black as a shadow within a shadow. But how are we supposed to fight these controllers, Rachel demanded. You must find a way. Now run. I jerked from the force of his command. He's right, run. We ran, all with Tobias who knelt beside him and took his hand. The ally pressed his other hand against his head. He rapped back like he'd been shocked, and he too was up and running, stumbling over loose junk and potholes of the construction site. A beam of bright red light snapped on. It was a spotlight from one of the bug fires. The beam lit up the fallen Andalite in the ship. A spotlight from the 2nd bug fire joined the 1st, and he shone as brilliant as a star. I hit the dirt hard. I saw my leg lit up within a circle of that spotlight. It yanked it to me and crawled fast, scraping my elbows and knees over sharp stones. I yanked it to me. Okay, so the light paralyzes you, got it. The 5 was crouched behind a low crumbled wall, afraid to move, afraid to look, but just as afraid to look away. Slowly the bug fires descended. It's easy to see where they got their name. They were slightly larger than Andalite fighter and shaped like legless cockroaches. There were small window-like eyes on the forward breast head of the bug. On either side of the head were 2 very long, sharp, serrated spears. The fighters touched down, one on either side of the Andalite ship. Okay, you can wake me up now, Margaret said in a riled whisper. I've had enough of this dream. The larger ship began to descend. I didn't know what to do. I don't know what it was about this ship, but as I got closer, I started feeling like I couldn't breathe. I tried to suck in a deep lungful of air, and I just couldn't. I tried to swallow, and I couldn't. I wanted to run, but my legs were jelly. I was shaking from a fear so deep it's like nothing I ever experienced before. It was the same fear that Andalite showed when he realized Visitor Free was coming. The ship sailed toward the ground, like it was going to land directly onto one of the big rusted earth movers parked there, but just as he descended, the earth mover just sizzled and disappeared. The ship was built like some ancient weapon. It reminded me of one of those battle axes the old-time knights used when they were hacking off the heads of their foes. That was the main part, like a handle of an axe with a big triangular point on the front. That part had to be the bridge. On the rear there were 2 huge scimitar wings. It was 8 or 10 times the size of the bug fires. It landed and a door opened. Cassie started to scream when I clamped my hand over her mouth. They leapt from the ship, whirling and thrusting and slicing the air. Creatures looked like walking weapons. They stood on 2 bent-back legs and had 2 very long arms. On each arm there were curved, horn-like blades growing out of the wrist and elbow. There were blades on their bent-back knees and 2 more at the end of their tails. They had feet like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it was the head that got your attention. A neck like a snake, a mouth like a falcon's beak, and from the forehead 3 dagger-like horns raked forward. Hork-Bajir controllers. I jumped hearing his words in my mind again. They were fainter, strange like someone yelling from far away. Did you guys? I asked. Rachel nodded. Yeah. The Hork-Bajir are good people, despite their looks, but they have been enslaved by the Yerks. Each of them now carries a Yerk in his head. They are to be pitied. Pity, right, Rachel's agreeing. They're walking killing machines, look at them. But our attention is drawn away by a new form that crept and slithered and shimmied out of the blade ship. Taxon controllers, Andalite said. I knew he was trying to tell us all he could even in the end, trying to prepare us for what we were up against. The Taxons are evil. Yeah, Markomard, I would have guessed that. They're like massive centipedes twice as long as a grown man, so big that if you try to hold one, your arms wouldn't make it halfway. Not that anyone would want to. They had dozens of legs that supported the lower two-thirds of their bodies. The top third was held upright, and as a row of legs came smaller with its little lobster claw hands. On the top of their disgusting tubular bodies was 4 eyes, each like a wiggling globule of red jello. At the very end, pointing straight in the air, was a round mouth ringed by hundreds of tiny teeth. Harbinger and Taxons poured from the ship, sprang out in the air like well-trained marines. They were holding small pistol-shaped things that were definitely weapons. They formed a ring around the Andalite and his ship. Suddenly, one of the Harbinger came straight toward us. He took a big bounding step and was practically on top of us. I hugged the dirt like it was my last hope. I wished I could dig a hole. I saw a flash on Marco's face and his eyes were huge. His lips were drawn back in what could have been a grin, as if I knew it was an expression of pure terror. The Harbinger pointed his gun, or whatever it was, around the darkness. His snake head swerved left and right, trying to penetrate the gloom. Silence, the Andalite warned us. They do not see well in the darkness, but hearing is very good. The Harbinger moved closer still. He was 6 feet away now, with just a low wall between us. He had to have heard my heart pounding. Maybe he didn't know what the sound was. Maybe he didn't know there was the sound of 5 terrified kids with knees quivering and teeth chattering. Kids who were breathing in short, sudden gasps. I knew I was going to die right then. I could see in my mind the way those vicious wrists and elbow blades were going to slice my head from my body. If you've never been truly afraid, it does things to you. It takes your mind and body. You want to scream, you want to run, you want to wet your pants, you want to throw yourself down the ground and cry and beg, please, please don't kill me. And if you think you're brave, well, just wait till you're cowering a few feet away from a monster to turn you into coleslaw in 3 seconds flat. But then the Andalite's voice is in my head again. Courage, my friends. And this warm... I don't have words for it. It's just this warmth that spread all through me. Like when you're a little kid and you had a terrible nightmare and you woke up screaming. How you just feel better when your mom or dad would turn on the light and come sit beside you. That's what it was like. I was still terrified. It was still there, so real and deadly. I could feel it. I could hear him breathing. I could smell him. But I could feel the panic coming under control. I could feel the strength flowing from the doomed Andalite. He's letting us borrow some of his courage, even though he must be afraid himself. The Harbinger finally moved away. Something new was coming from the blade ship. Shaking and chattering, I rose high to look over the wall. Every Harbinger and Taxon was turned toward the ship now. They're all staying at attention, I whispered. How can you tell? Who knows when a jelly-eyed centipede and a walking salad cheer from hell is staying at attention? Then he appeared. Visor Free, the Andalite said. Visor Free was an Andalite, or at least an Andalite controller. What the Ariel said, isn't he an Andalite? Only once has a Yerk been able to take an Andalite body. There's only one Andalite controller, and that one is him, Visor Free. Visor Free looked confidently toward the wounded Andalite. He looked so much like him it was hard to tell him apart at first. He had the same mouthless face, the same extra stalk eyes that turn here and there, checking out everything, the same powerful yet sleek four-legged body, the same wicked tail. But while he looked like a normal Andalite, he felt different. It was like he was wearing a mask, only you just knew under that fake sweetness of the mask there was something twisted and foul. Well, well, Visor Free said. I almost had a heart attack and realized I was hearing his thoughts. Can he hear our thoughts? Cassie whispered. If he can, we're so dead I don't even want to think about it, Rachel said. He cannot hear your thoughts, the Andalite said, as long as you do not direct them toward him. You could hear his thoughts he was broadcasting for all to hear. It is a great victory for him, so he wants all to hear. What do we have here? A meddling Andalite? Visor Free looked more closely at the ship. Ah, but no ordinary warrior. Prince Elfingor Serenal Shantel, if I'm not mistaken. It's an honor to meet you. You're a legend. How many of our fires have you shredded? 7, or was it 8 by the time the battle ended? The Andalite didn't answer, but I have a feeling it might have been more than 8. The very last Andalite in this sector of space. Yes, I'm afraid your dome ship was completely destroyed. Completely. I watched it burn as it fell in the atmosphere of this little world. There will be others, the Andalite Prince said. The Visor took a step closer. Yes, and when they do, it will be too late. This world will be mine, my own contribution to the Yerk Empire, our greatest conquest. And then I will be Visor One. What do you want with these humans? Andalite asked. You have your Taxon allies, your Harbinger slaves, and our slaves from other worlds. Why these people? Because there are so many, and they are so weak, Visory sneered. Billions of bodies, and they have no idea what's happening. With this many hosts, we can spread through the universe unstoppable. Billions of us. We'll have to build 1,000 New York pools just to raise Yerks for half the number of this bodies. Face it, Andalites, you fought well and bravely, but you have lost. He stepped right up to Andalite. I could feel his fear, but rather than cower, he fought the pain of his wound and climbed to his feet. He knew he was going to die, but he was going to die on his feet. But he's not done taunting him yet. I promise you one thing, Prince Elfingor. When we have this planet with its rich harvest of bodies, we will move against Andalite homeworld. I will personally hunt down your family, and I will personally oversee the placement of faithful lieutenants in their heads. I do hope they resist so I can hear their minds scream. The Andalite struck. His tail whipped up and over so fast you couldn't really see it. The visor twisted his head aside. The blade missed his head by a mere half-inch, but it sliced into his shoulder. Blood, or something like it, sprayed from the wound. Yes, I hissed. I could hear the visor's howl of pain in my head. At the same time, a blinding beam of blue light shot from the tail of the Andalite ship. It sliced in the nearest bug fire, and Hartbager and Taxon scattered. Even crouching behind a wall, I could feel a wave of blistering heat. The fire sizzled and vanished. Fire, the visor yelled, burn his ship. The night exploded in blinding light. Red beams lanced on the blaze ship and the remaining bug fire. The Andalite ship glowed and with a strange slowness disintegrated. Then the flash and glow of Dracon beams I thought I saw humans. A small group of them, maybe 3 or 4, back in the shadows behind the visor. There are people over there, I told Marco. What are they, prisoners? Take the Andalite, Visor ordered his soldiers. Hold him for me. 3 big Harbinger grabbed the Andalite and held him down. The wrist blades were at his throat, but they knew better than to kill him. That was Visor Free's personal privilege. Then we saw why Yerk, as powerful as Visor Free, could inhabit the only captured Andalite body. As we watched, he began to morph. His head grew larger, much larger. The 4 horse-like legs merged into 2 and then expanded, each one becoming big around as a redwood tree. The delicate Andalite arms sprouted and became tentacles. This isn't real, Cassie whispered. This isn't real. And a hideously bloated head and mouth appeared, filled with teeth as long as your arm. The mouth grew wider and wider, coming on a monstrous, terrifying grin. There was nothing left in the Andalite body, and a monster had taken its place. The roar of the beast he had become made the ground shake. I covered my ears in my hands, but the teeth rattled from the sound. I heard someone whimpering and realized it was me. Visor Free become a monster made the Harbinger and Taxon like harmless toys. He reached out one thick tentacle and grabbed the Andalite by the neck. No, I heard Cassie whispering. No. Don't look, Rachel said to her. She put an arm around Cassie's shoulder and held her close. Then she reached her device and I took his hand. I guess you really know someone until you see him scared. Even scared to death with tears on her face, Rachel had strength to spare. Visor Free lifted the Andalite straight in the air, tearing from the grasp of the Harbinger. The prince struck again and again with his tail, but each strike was like a pinprick against such a creature. He held the Andalite high in the air, and then he opened his mouth wide.